Hello, fellow flamenco enthusiasts, and welcome to Everything Flamenco. I'm your host, La Hugo, and this is episode 50. Can you believe it? We are at episode 50. Today is a very special day in South Africa. We are celebrating Freedom Day observed. So yesterday is actually the day that we celebrate Freedom Day, the 27th of April. But since that was Sunday, we are now having the public holiday on the Monday, the 28th, which is really suitable because that is going to be part of our topic for today. So we're going to discuss South African Freedom Day, why we celebrate it, and also how, even if it's a bit light, how it connects to the history of the gypsy exile in Spain. These stories will have way more in common than you think, and through this episode, I hope that we can draw some parallels between freedom, resilience, and identity across different cultures. Those of you that are not South African might ask, so what on earth is Freedom Day? Well, Freedom Day is a very important day for us as South Africans. It is celebrated every year on the 27th of April, like I said, and it marks a pivotal moment in South African history because that was the day that South Africa held its first democratic elections in 1994. Prior to this, and many people might still find this a very, very sensitive topic from both sides, which is completely understandable. So I am talking about this with lots of respect to everyone. Uh, Prior to this date, 1994, the 27th of April, South Africa had been under apartheid, which was a system of racial segregation that made it illegal for Black South Africans to vote and other denominations as well, or to have a say in their own government. But on the 27th of April 1994, everything changed. For the first time, South Africans of all races, doesn't matter what race you are classified as, were able to vote and to choose their leaders. And this wasn't just a political shift. It really was a fantastic thing because it marked the end of apartheid and the start of a new era for South Africa. This was the moment that democracy was born in our country and an opportunity to build a more inclusive and equal society. And that is why we celebrate Freedom Day. But it's also important to remember that it's not just a celebration of how far we've come. Freedom Day is really about reflection, taking a moment to recognize the sacrifices that were made to get here and to reflect on how much work is still needed to make South Africa a place where equality and justice are real for everyone. I promise you, it's not just going to be a talk about Freedom Day. I will bring in the flamenco connection, but it is important to note this. It is a very, very important day for us South Africans. So the significance of the day is when we talk about Freedom Day, we're not just celebrating a day on a calendar. This day really represents freedom, equality, and human rights. It's values that many people in our country had to fight for over decades, even centuries. And for those who lived under the apartheid rule and were subject to the oppression, this day really represents the ultimate victory over that oppression. But it's not only that, it's also a time to really reflect on the ongoing journey that we are on as a country since apartheid was abolished. South Africa has really made great strides since 1994, but because of a lot of history and things that have happened since Freedom Day, the country still continues to face lots of challenges, from inequality to poverty to political division. We've also been struggling with corruption, and I can get into a whole political discussion, which I don't really want to do. But for us, Freedom Day really reminds us that freedom is something that we need to continually work for and protect. And it's not just South Africans who should recognize Freedom Day. It is a day for the world to acknowledge how long the struggle for freedom has taken, how countless individuals and communities have fought, sometimes at a great cost, for the right to be free and to live with dignity. And South Africa's victory in 1994 didn't just impact its own people, it resonated with all nations still struggling to find freedom, justice, and equality. So, when we celebrate Freedom Day, we're looking forward with hope, but we're also honoring the sacrifices made by those who fought for a better future for all of us. Many people fled to other countries if it was possible for them to do so, to get away from the rule. And Freedom Day is really about celebrating the victory over that injustice. And I think really, especially now, after all these years, being proud of being a South African. And it's about recognizing that freedom comes at a cost. And in South Africa's case, that cost was really steep. Many lives were lost in the struggle for equality, and many were imprisoned or oppressed. Yet through all of this, the spirit of resistance never faded. South Africa really is a rainbow nation, and despite all of our struggles, it's really a rich tapestry of cultures and traditions in different cultures. I mean, we've got 11 official languages, for goodness sake. And it's something that really needs to be celebrated. And that spirit of resistance led to the rise of a new South Africa, one that embraces the idea that freedom is for everyone. But Freedom Day isn't just about looking back at the past. Of course, we don't forget about that ever, but it's also recognizing that the journey to true equality isn't over. There still needs to be a strive towards a South Africa where justice is available to everyone, no matter their race, their background, their class, or their gender. And that is also why this day is so much more than just a national holiday. It's a symbol of ongoing work, commitment, and hope for a brighter future. Now, the theme of freedom and resilience is not unique to South Africa. Like I said, I'm going to bring in the flamenco connection here. There are many other communities around the world that have faced similar struggles for freedom, and one of those is the Roma people of Spain, also known as the Gitanos. So much like South Africa's history of oppression and exile, the Gitanos, or the Gypsies, have faced centuries of persecution. They too fought for their right to live freely, to preserve their culture, and to express themselves in a world that often denied them those basic rights. In fact, the Gypsy exile in Spain is a struggle that actually closely mirrors South Africa's battle for freedom. So, in the next part of this episode, we will explore the history of the Gypsy people in Spain, their fight for cultural freedom, and how their experiences shaped the very art form we celebrate here today, which is flamenco. So, who were or are the Gitanos? To really understand the story of the Gypsies, we first need to look at who they are. The Roma people, also known as Gypsies in many parts of the world, are a group with roots in northern India. And over 1,000 years ago, they began migrating across Europe, slowly spreading across different countries, including Spain. Before we continue with that, I just need to make a strong distinction between the terms Gitano, gypsy, and the Roma or the Romani. And also in the process, correct myself, because in previous episodes, I have been using the wrong terms, like using a blanket term for the Roma people. But so we learn, and I'm just going to quickly give you the differences between them all. So Gitano is the term used specifically for the Spanish gypsy community. It translates directly to gypsy in English, although gypsy might seem as a derogatory term in other countries, and that is also something that I've noted in previous episodes. Actually, in Spain, that is not the case. Because this is an English podcast, I will therefore be using the term gypsy going forward, or Gitano, because gypsy is a direct translation of Gitano. But I'm going to use it with the understanding that it is used in the context that it is spoken in Spain. Most gypsies are part of the broader Romani diaspora, but they are a distinct subgroup with their own language, which is Calor, their own customs, and centuries-long integration into Spanish culture, particularly Andalusian culture. So even though the Spanish gypsies are Romani in origin, not all Romani people are Gitanos or Spanish gypsies, and not all Romani groups share the same traditions, language, or lifestyle. So as I dig more and more into flamenco and everything surrounding it, so you learn and you correct yourself. And I'm happy to fix my mistakes. So we will dig a little further into the Roma Romani people in future episodes. And although there are different subgroups, I think that understanding the full picture and how it came about that one of these subgroups settled in Spain and helped shape flamenco is really fascinating. So hopefully you will bear with me once those episodes come along. And now that we've clarified the terms, let's go back to the Gitanos and Spain. By the 15th century, some of the Roma people had arrived in Spain, where they quickly became part of the fabric of society. However, that did not mean acceptance. From the moment that they arrived, they were treated with suspicion and soon faced persecution. The Spanish crown was really eager to control this population, and they began passing laws to oppress and marginalize them. The Gitanos were seen as outsiders, really people to be feared and excluded. And the treatment of them was really harsh and unrelenting. Beginning in the 16th century, a series of decrees and laws were passed with the goal of forcing the Gitanos to abandon their culture and traditions. These laws restricted their movements, forced them into exile, and even sought to assimilate them through forced labor and other means. And one of the really most tragic outcomes of this period was the loss of their cultural identity. I mean, can you just imagine having everything taken away from you? Your customs, your language, your art, even the very name that you are known by. That is what happened to them. They were often forced into poverty, pushed into the margins of society, and really seen as a threat to the order of Spanish life. But, as we know from history, when people are oppressed, they often find ways to survive, and the Gitanos did just that. This exile wasn't just a matter of being forced from one place to another. It was really an attempt to destroy their culture. But the gypsies were resilient and they found ways to preserve what was most important to them. And that is where flamenco started because in the face of their exclusion and hardship, they turned to song, dance, and music as a means of survival. These traditions weren't just entertainment, they became a way of resistance, to hold onto their identity, and to express what they were feeling at the time, whether it be pain, joy, fighting for their lives, tiredness of what is going on around them. It's just a way of expression. And flamenco, as we know it today, was born out of this need for self expression. It wasn't just an art form for the gypsies, it was a vital tool for communicating their struggles, their longing for freedom, and their sense of defiance. In the face of constant oppression, even with them having nothing at all, they held on to flamenco because flamenco became their voice, their way of saying, we are here and we will not be silenced. So, really, at its core, flamenco embodies the very essence of the Gitanos' fight for survival. The themes of sorrow, defiance, passion, and rebellion are reflected in flamenco's most powerful moments and the different palos. That is why you have an alegrias for joy, a soleá for sorrow, segria for deep sadness and trauma, the cante hondo, which is the deep song, for example, speaks to the deep pain and sorrow that they felt during the exile. And this style of flamenco is known for its intense emotional depth, capturing the feeling of loss, the struggle for identity, and the desire for freedom. So you will have, like the Soleá, for example, which reflects a sense of longing and introspection, as if the gypsies were looking inward, contemplating their place in a world that sought to erase them. And through flamenco, the gypsies really communicated their struggle, not just against the forces that sought to oppress them, but also against the very idea that their culture should be forgotten. Flamenco can be seen as a living testament to the gypsy resilience, a way to ensure that their voices were heard even when society tried to silence them. And through centuries of persecution, the Gitanos preserved their most sacred traditions. In flamenco, the cante, the toque, and the baile, the song, the guitar playing, and the dance. And these elements of flamenco became not just a way to survive, but a way to thrive, to keep their identity intact, their culture alive, to communicate their traditions over generations to come, and to carry their traditions and history forward. And the historical significance of flamenco really cannot be overstated. Flamenco is the result, again, of centuries of suffering, resilience, and defiance. It stands as a tribute to the Gitanos' fight for freedom and recognition, and as a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, art can provide a voice for the voiceless. If you just think about how flamenco is thriving at the moment, the fact that it's also become a cultural heritage means that it really is thriving today, even today, despite all the adversity that the gypsies faced. And it's a testament to the strength of the culture and the people who created it. And the survival of flamenco is not just about the preservation of an art form, it's also about the preservation of the Roma spirit, their fight for freedom, and their resilience. Flamenco is not just a dance or a song, it's a living history, a reflection of the gypsies' journey through centuries of hardship and a celebration of their undying will to live free. So just listening to all of it, you can kind of find the common threads between South African people's fight for freedom and the gypsies' fight for freedom. Both groups had to fight for their freedom, had to face lots of struggles and really had to have a strong desire for self-determination. Both stories, though different in their details and the places where they unfolded, ultimately tell the tale of oppressed people fighting for their right to live freely and authentically. For the gypsies in Spain, their struggle was about survival, surviving in a world that sought to strip them of their culture, their voice, and their very existence. And similarly, the South African fight for freedom was about dignity, the right to vote, to be treated equally, and to live without the systemic oppression of apartheid. The Gypsies fought to retain their culture, and South Africans fought for the right to be seen as equals in the eyes of the world. And both struggles were really deeply rooted in the fight against oppression, and both came with profound costs. Yet, in each case, the spirit of resilience and the will to preserve one's identity led to victory, change, and the eventual ability to celebrate freedom. One of the most significant parallels between the South African struggle for freedom and the Gypsy exile is the role that culture played in their respective fights. Both groups used art as a tool of resistance, turning music, dance, and literature into powerful means of expressing defiance and hope. In South Africa, for example, under the harsh restrictions of apartheid, art became a form of resistance. Music, dance, and literature were ways for South Africans to speak out against their oppression, to tell stories of hardship and hope, and to give voice to those who were otherwise silenced. From the powerful music of Miriam Makeba to the protest songs of Yuma Sekela, South African artists used their craft to challenge the system and fight for the freedom they knew was their right. And in Spain, the Gitanos faced similar struggles, and they used flamenco as their means of resistance. Flamenco was not an art form alone, it was a way of surviving, of communicating pain, sorrow, and the determination to live free. The Gitanos sang songs of suffering, but also of strength, songs that expressed their longing for a life untainted by the brutality of exile. Flamenco became their voice, just as the arts in South Africa gave people a voice when the system sought to suppress them. Both the Gitanos and South Africans shows us the importance of community and cultural preservation in the face of oppression. In their art, they not only fought to survive, but to ensure that future generations would not forget the struggle and would have the strength to carry the torch forward. The pursuit of freedom and dignity really is a universal struggle, one that transcends borders, languages, and cultures. Whether it's the South African fight against apartheid or the Gitanos' long battle for cultural freedom, these struggles remind us that the quest for human rights, for the right to live authentically and to be treated with respect, is a fight that connects us all. Across the world, even in other countries other than Spain and South Africa, people continue to fight for their freedom, for their identity, and their dignity. And as we reflect specifically on the struggles of the Spanish gypsies and of South Africans, we are reminded that these battles are not just isolated to specific places or times. They really are part of a broader shared human experience. The ongoing struggles for justice and equality in all parts of the world means that the spirit of resistance really is universal. And by recognizing these struggles and drawing the parallel between them, we can better understand the power of community, the importance of culture, and the value of freedom in shaping our world today. Gosh, you guys, this ended up being a much longer episode than I initially anticipated, but this is something that I feel really strongly about and that I hope was discussed with the respect that it deserves for both these groups that were oppressed in the past. And I really hope that we can continue to work on togetherness, building community, and equality for all. It's important to remember that Freedom Day really is more than just a celebration for us South Africans. It's a day for the whole world to reflect on the ongoing struggles for freedom, identity, and justice. Whether it's in South Africa, Spain, or any other corner of the globe, the fight for human dignity and the ability to live authentically is a journey shared by many, and it's something that we must never forget and always work on. Whether it's in South Africa, Spain, or any other corner of the globe, the fight for human dignity and the ability to live authentically is a journey shared by many, and it is something that we should really all strive to achieve and work towards. Much like the Gitanos use flamenco as a tool to express their struggles and resilience, we too can use art, dance, and music to speak out, to heal, and to express our humanity. I think maybe that is also why flamenco resonates with many South Africans, with the struggles that many of our people have also faced in the past, and that can also be expressed and worked through with flamenco, even though the experiences might not be exactly the same as what the gypsies faced in Spain. But flamenco and all these other art forms can really transcend time and borders, connect us all in a shared experience of struggle, but also of hope. So, as we reflect on Freedom Day today, let's not only honor the victories of the past, um, but also recognize the work that's still needed to ensure freedom and justice for everyone. Let's continue to use our voices, our movements, and our creativity to build a world where everyone can truly live freely. I hope that you found this episode interesting, learning a bit more about the struggles faced here in South Africa, but also the struggles faced by the gypsies, and that it will give you a deeper understanding of flamenco, but also where we are coming from as a South African nation. Although I was very privileged not to have to face all those oppressions. I was quite young when that happened, but I still have a deep respect for everyone that had to go through it. We're going to end the episode here. Next week, we're going to speak a little bit about La Feria again. We had our La Feria here in Cape Town yesterday. It was fantastic. I will touch on it a little bit more in the next episode. I really just wanted to keep the focus on Freedom Day today and the gypsy exile and struggles faced, and give everyone hope for a better future. So next week we will chat a bit about the La Feria. So I will see you then. Ole.